Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Buffalo
Giants.
Podcast. All right, folks. Brian's going to take the lead because he has the first couple games, and then we'll get into our usual stuff as well. We got keep four, cut four. We got budget. We got quarterback mountain. We got how many players better. And we got our regular starts and sits for your final week of fantasy football of the season. And we're going to have a great show. We're going to break it into two parts this week. We're going to do the Saturday games with the games, and then later tonight we'll record the Sunday slate of games and have that uploaded in the morning. So go ahead, Brian.
Fantastic. So we'll kick it off as we always do with a keep four, cut four. This week for you, James, I've got another wide receiver two a set for you. They are all playing in the league. They have all played this year. Some of them we've seen more of in terms of health wise and being getting playing time than others. But all of them are great talents. So I'm just interested to see how you rank them. But our first name on the list is Christian Watson.
Cut. I mean, he's good, but he's too injury prone.
Fair enough. All right.
He's a good fantasy player, though.
Fair enough. Our second wide receiver on this list, Troy Franklin.
I'm going to cut him as well. He just doesn't get enough targets.
Okay. Fair enough. Our number three player on this list is Jordan Addison.
I have to keep him because I love him. He's our boy. He's our first draft pick we agreed on 100% together.
That is true. Some context behind that, and we'll cover that some more when we get down to some fantasy episodes in the offseason. But our number four player on this list, Parker Washington.
I'm going to cut him. I mean, this is his first season of relevancy, and he's really a wide receiver 3.
Fair enough.
Just because Brian Thomas is 1, Jacoby's 2, he would be 3. And when Travis Hunter's back, he's going to be wide receiver 4.
All right, everyone, and welcome back. So our next player on this list is Devontae Smith.
I'll keep the Slim Reaper. I like him a lot. I like him probably more than most people do. I think he's amazing. I hope that he leaves Philadelphia just because, obviously, I don't want him to be an Eagle. I don't care where he goes besides the Chiefs. But I think that he has the ability to be a number 1 wide receiver, to be completely honest with you.
Very good. All right. So we have kept Jordan Addison and Devontae Smith. We have cut Christian Watson, Troy Franklin, and Parker Washington. The number 6 player on this list is Jalen Waddle.
Jalen who?
Jalen Waddle.
I technically should cut him because he's a number 1 wide receiver, but I'm going to keep him because Tyreek's still.
I consider Tyreek there, and that's why he's on this list, right?
Yeah, I'm going to keep Jalen Waddle. He's my absolute favorite player in the NFL. That is not a Buffalo Bill. I don't know why I like him so much. I draft him everywhere. It doesn't work out for me since his rookie year, but I like him, so I'm going to keep him.
Fair enough. All right, the number 7 player on our list is Luther Burden.
I'm going to cut him based on the fact that he's a 3.
Fair enough. I think you can make the case that he's probably the 2 at this point there with DJ Moore, kind of having that big contract and not, producing quite to that, level. And I would imagine that they're going to try to move on from him as soon as possible or trade him. But the number 8 player on this list, Michael Wilson.
I have to keep him, right?
He's an auto keep for you, yes. So you end up.
Good. I got the best wide receiver.
Sorry?
I got the best wide receiver there.
I'm curious. I'm curious to hear, who do you think was the best wide receiver there?
Well, no, that was the best wide receiver I could have kept there, like
Oh,
that I could
true,
think
true,
of.
true, true, true. I mean, maybe
The
T
best wide
Higgins.
receiver there is
If
Tross
T
Smith. There was
if
no
T Higgins was going to be
Higgins.
on this list, for sure, I think he would have wanted to auto
Yeah,
keep him. Yeah.
yeah. Michael Wilson, though. I mean, talk about in the leagues where we got him. Talk about finding buried treasure. And he's always played good when he's had an opportunity to play. Nothing like this year, but I mean, just imagine if he was starting opposite of Marvin all season, how good their season could have gone. And top of the Trey McBride. But I mean, a lot of like what they had Kyler Murray till about halfway through the season, give or take a week or two.
And who really
So I
knows
mean,
how
it's the
much
same.
Kyler has been limiting Michael Wilson, and his development. Because as soon
Yeah,
as Brissett comes in, and Harrison goes down, he shows an unbelievable ability that probably they expected to be able to see, maybe even see in practice sometimes, but we haven't seen on the field on Sundays and basically his entire
right.
career, right? So. But I just wanted to
And
give
it,
you this list of wide receiver twos and have you go through it. Just to recap, James is keeping Jordan Addison, Devontae Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Michael Wilson. He has cut Christian Watson, Troy Franklin, Parker Washington, and Luther Burden. I largely I think you won out with this one, James. What are your thoughts?
yeah, I mean, Luther Burden, if it was next year, I'm all in on him. But I really did it this week based on this season alone. And unfortunately, Luther hasn't played enough. He's been hurt quite a bit. I think Rome is the one. I think he's the two. And then I think DJ Moore is going to get traded because him and Caleb, I don't think there's a good relationship there per se. I think they had that one big touchdown to win you a couple championships a couple weeks ago. But other than that, like DJ Moore and him have really never been on the same page as well as he's been with Luther and Rome this year. And then they also got the tight ends. Like there's too many mouths to feed as it is. And then they have two amazing. They have one amazing running back and an okay running back because I'm not calling DeAndre Swift amazing. I'm not doing it. But I'm also a DeAndre Swift hater. Um, but yeah, I mean, like I said, I like the Bears a lot. So just watching all of their games, it's like I know where he is, so I can't keep him. But yeah, that's it.
Fair enough. Well, we will move on. How about you give us how many players are better?
So this week I have Tyler Warren of the Indianapolis Colts. I think he's a good benchmark for fantasy and tight ends.
We doing entire season?
He's yes.
Okay.
I mean, we always have, so can't really change the format now.
Fair enough.
But I
All
mean,
right.
either way, he's had a really good season.
He has. He has. So to recap, how many players are better? One of us has a player. We name them, and then we go back and forth, and we name a number. And we are essentially naming how many players we think we can name that are better than the player that was named. Um, we then proceed to go until no one can name a higher number, and then we name out the players to back up that number. If we get to that number, we effectively win the game. So this week, Tyler Warren. I'm going to start it off with 4.
I'll go 6. Players are better.
I will go with 7.
I'll take 8.
I'm going to make you name 8.
Okay. So I'm gonna go with Harold Fanakin. I think he's been better.
I
I'm
completely
gonna go
agree.
with I'm gonna go with George Kittle when he's played. He's been amazing. Like he's been unstoppable.
I will give him
I
2.
think this would have been his. I think this would have been his best season ever if he played all 17 games. He had fantastic chemistry with Mac, and he already had fantastic chemistry with Brock. I'm gonna take I'm going to take Hunter Henry over him. Hunter Henry's just a solid dude. Nearly 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns. He's been great. I would take Kincaid, but unfortunately, Kincaid just cannot stay on the field. I think he's a better player, but the potential is lower with how bad his knees are. No one on the Jets. Dolphins. Darren Waller is a touchdown merchant. He doesn't have very many yards. So AFC East will cap. I'm at 3, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. And I got to name 8, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. We're going to go with Dallas. Go hard. Goddard. Go hard. Dallas Goddard.
Okay. Interesting. I'm not so sure about that. I know that he's had a very good yardage total. Or I believe it's a receiving touchdowns. He set the record for tight ends in franchise history for the Eagles this year, if I'm not mistaken. Um, you know,
Maybe.
it's just so tough because I Goddard for me has disappeared in many games, also not been available for games. And Warren, the only thing that's really caused his dip was Daniel Jones getting hurt, not necessarily him missing time with injury. And even in the games that he did play, it's not like he was complete goose eggs. He did have points, but it was pretty similar to what I would say the Michael Pittmans of the world were going through when that quarterback change needed to happen. So um, conversely, I think Goddard is not necessarily as big of a contributor in the Eagles' offense as Warren is to the Colts. Um, I for the sake of argument,
Yeah.
I will go ahead and give him to you again. He did set the franchise receiving record for tight ends this year, Dallas Goddard, with the Eagles. But that's one that's for me razor thin.
Yeah. He's a touchdown merchant to a certain degree. He's got five. He's got 600 yards basically. He's at 591. He's got 11 touchdowns and 60 receptions, as to 71 receptions for 791, but only 4 touchdowns. So fantasy wise, he's tight end number 3 right now. Kyle Pitts got all the way up to number 2, like the week he went off for 44 points. So it tells you
I'm
how
interested to
fantasy
hear.
it is for
Are you
tight
taking
ends.
Kyle Pitts as well?
Absolutely not. Kyle Pitts is garbage. And I don't like him because he ruined my fantasy season. I played him in both of my undefeated teams the same week. Or not undefeated, but 11. At that time, 13-1. So we lost 1 game, but closest I've ever been to being undefeated. So yeah, no. I don't think 1 big game is enough to go over a guy that was in the running for Rookie of the Year for the first 10 weeks of the season. And unfortunately, if his quarterback went down. But that's 5. Okay, cool. So we're gonna go over to the AFC West. I can't say Brock Bowers, but I know Brock Bowers is a better player. He just didn't have a very good year. Travis Kelce's a no. He's old. Gatskin / yeah, I would just say Gaskin he's not better than him. And then who's the Broncos? Yeah, we're not taking number 1 over there. I can't remember his name. Thank you. Yeah, no. So we'll go over to the AFC North. Mike Gesicki, no. Mark Andrews, no. Steelers. That one's hard because I feel like the Steelers have a lot of touchdowns to tight ends, but I feel like they're so spread out that there's no case that can be made. As a group, they're better, but I can't say them. And then I already said Harold, so we're done there. We're going to go over to the AFC West, North, to the East. I did the East, right? Yeah. Did the North. South. I'm going to take Brenton Strange. I think with what he's doing the last 8
He did
weeks
miss
is
a
about to say,
significant amount of the year. You know,
that's fine.
I don't know if he's played enough games.
More game.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to take Schultz, though. He's been coming on the last eight weeks. He's been getting a touchdown in every game. He's got 800 yards.
Again, razor thin for
What do you think?
me. Yeah, essentially you're talking about a guy who was broken out after, Daniel Jones' injury.
Right.
Where that doesn't happen, and Tyler Warren could be doubling what
Oh,
Schultz
yeah.
has done, especially with the slow start that he had. Again, razor thin for me. I will give it to you for the sake of argument.
Okay. And then we'll go over to the NFC side of the field because the Colts are in that division, and then the Jaguars tight end was hurt half the season, and then the Titans absolutely not. As much as we like Greg, Greg
Gunnerhelm
Akapunta,
and
and we like,
Chigakambo.
we're not going there, not yet. Maybe in a year or two, hopefully. But we'll move over to the NFC. Like I said, we did George Kittle because he was an obvious one. Kobe Parkinson's only been good for a couple weeks. Seahawks, they have a gaggle of tight ends that are good, but no one that's put it fully together to take that job for good. And then Trey McBride. I think you're going to give me that one.
I am going to give you that one. Sets the receiving record for tight ends this year.
Yeah, reception-wise, he's probably getting pretty close in yards, too. Unfortunately, he doesn't score a lot of touchdowns anymore. Remember that one year he had like 14, and we were all freaking. Oh, no. Kayshon Boutte was taking one pick before me. What are you going to do? So I got 7. I need one more. We're done in the West. Let's go to the North. I like Tucker Kraft, but you're not going to give that to me, are you?
Of course. No, I will absolutely give you Tucker Kraft. Tucker Kraft was the tight end 1 on the season when he went down.
Yeah.
In a very similar reason to why I'm contesting you on your Dalton Schultz's and Dallas Goddard's of the world. I wouldn't be able, I feel like, to make that argument if I didn't then give you Tucker Kraft there.
I think Tucker Kraft, I think he has the potential. If this ACL surgery is clean and everything's good, I still think he has the potential to be the best tight end in the league for the next couple of years, or right there with Trey McBride. Like, I think he's going to be the new generation with Trey, and I think Harold Fanakin is going to be there with Tyler as well. I think those are going to be your like big 4 of that position. And you're talking to a guy that has 3 out of 4 on most fantasy teams. So
yeah, I mean, obviously, Brock Bowers would have something to say about that, and trying to make that a 5.
Yeah, I did forget about him. He's pretty good too.
Yeah,
big 5. We'll call it the big 5. I would love to have put Brock Bowers on this list, but I mean, his output you can't even.
And certainly while George Kittle is playing, I don't think it's quite fair to rule him out of that as well. Yeah, if you're making it a 10-year window, I understand, but if you're saying who you're going to take right now, I think you got to include Kittle in there.
Yeah, I mean Kittle just absolutely, dude is amazing, but I'm talking like future faces up the tight ends. Like we're losing Kelsey, I would think most likely. And then the next oldest guy, I would assume, is George Kittle. He's going to be 32 this coming offseason.
Yeah, and then there's a bunch of guys as well right behind that are very interesting that could break out and potentially join that crew. The guys like the Oronde Gadsdens, the Gunnar Helms, the Colston Lovelands of the world. Certainly when Colston Loveland doesn't have to contend with Cole Kmet there. You got to think that he's going to take a pretty big step forward. And that's probably one of the only things capping him at the moment, other than maybe injury.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's just I feel like we have the possibility of heading into the best era of tight ends because I mean they're basically wide receivers at this point, most of them. You got your blocking ones. Don't get me wrong, but everyone's starting to get a good tight end to a certain degree. Even though the Titans aren't playing amazing, they are getting pretty good work out of that tight end room. Like the only one that I would say that doesn't have a tight end room that exists are the Jets now, since Mason Graham went down with his neck injury. Taylor, sorry. Mason Graham's the guy from Michigan. Go
Browns.
Wolverines.
Indeed.
Yes, but he's from Michigan. That's why I said that. And then, unfortunately, I had the pleasure of watching my brother's Bulldogs lose this weekend. So that was a crazy game as well.
That was a tough one.
I watched that on a plane as well. I watched the Oregon game. I watched the whole second half basically on the plane. Which, I mean, the game was over after the beginning of the fourth quarter. They obviously got a shutout, but it was still really fun. But I'll let you move on to your next game because I just did mine. So I would assume you had budget ready.
We're actually still on how many players are better. And you were at 7. You needed to name one more to get to 8.
Oh, Brock Bowers. You already said you'd give it to me.
I will give you Brock Bowers. All right, so we'll cap that off there at 8. Great job, James. Way to get that done. I didn't know how we were really gonna get past 6 there, but you did a great job. So we are next going to move on to budget players, and in this segment I give James 5 players. He's going to give me a value 1 to 5 to associate with each of them. And then we're going to take a look at the list after all 5 are said and see if he would change anything afterwards. Our first player on this list is Josh Jacobs.
Are these all running backs?
These are all going to be running backs. They are currently in the league. They're actually all currently in the playoffs as well.
I'm going to put him
or could get into the playoffs with a win today. I have to make that clear.
I'm going to put him with a win today.
Win this week, to be more fair.
I'm going to go with 1 just based on his knee injury. It's very concerning, and he has not looked good in about 3 weeks, and I don't know why he keeps playing. I would have rested him up for the playoffs personally.
Yeah, I mean, he I think has only had about 4 rushes last week and not too many more than that the week before. I believe they're planning on sitting him this week. So 1 for Josh Jacobs. Number 2 on this list, James Cook.
I'm going to put him at 3. He's still not, I consider him a superstar, but watching what the media and everyone else thinks and says about him, I'm going to put him at 3. I consider him to be a top 5 running back right now, but unfortunately the media doesn't agree. And I think that you'll have players that are valued higher there. But I think a lot of it has to do with being on a team led by Josh Allen. You just don't get the flowers you deserve.
Fair enough. Number 3 on this list, Christian McCaffrey.
I consider him to be the best running back in the entire football league with his abilities. It will be Bijan next year, but this year I'm putting him at 5. The dude won a lot of people fantasy football championships this year.
Absolutely. Number 4 on this list, Derrick Henry.
So I have 2 and 4 left.
Correct.
I'm going to put Derrick Henry at 2. I just put CMC at 1. I didn't mean to do that. He's 5.
No, you put CMC at 5.
I said that.
You put Josh Jacobs
at
1.
Okay.
And you put James Cook at 3.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put Derrick Henry in the 4 slot just because his coach is a moron. It's not because of him.
Okay. And then our last player on this list, Travion Henderson. He's going to fall into your 2 slot.
No, I want them flipped. I wanted Derrick Henry at the back of the line at 2. I
Okay.
want Henderson in 4. I want them
Okay.
flipped.
Okay.
I'd rather have Henderson or Derek because Henderson gets the ball.
Okay. So
Wow.
your final list then is going to be Josh Jacobs at 1, Derrick Henry
Yep.
at 2,
Yep.
James Cook at 3,
Yep.
Travion Henderson at 4, and Christian McCaffrey at 5.
Yes, sir. That's how I wanted it.
And that's the way you wanted it. Perfect. All right.
Uh,
I personally, I would have Josh Jacobs much higher on this list if it were, if you were asking me. Probably would agree with you on McCaffrey at 5. But for me, Josh Jacobs would probably get the 4 spot on this list. I hear what you're talking about with the injury concerns and everything like that. But I have a big belief that if the Packers are going to do anything in the playoffs, it's going to be on the back of Josh Jacobs, especially if Jordan Love is not completely healthy.
no, I agree.
And they have shown an ability to run the ball, whether it's Emmanuel Wilson or Josh Jacobs. And Josh Jacobs has shown that he can be consistent and good when healthy. So, I would probably have just done that a little bit differently. I do think James Cook should still be at 3. And I do like Derrick Henry at 2. I probably would have put Travion at 1, only because similar to Derrick Henry, Vrabel does not like to run him exclusively. He likes to mix in Stevenson, Mr. Fumbleitis,
Yeah.
as much as possible. And that seems to just be for dramatic effect, I think, for most of us watching their games. Travion could easily be putting up close to 100 yards and a touchdown every single game if he got 20 touches. But they don't necessarily allow him to do that. So, but James, you did a great job with those budget players. I'm glad that you ended up with the order that you would have wanted. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. It's just hard because you're thinking one's good and then you're like, wait, I did that wrong. But not that example. But like, I want Derrick Henry at the end of the thing because I don't want him as much as I want them. The only ones I would switch are Josh Jacobs and Derrick Henry. I have a little bit more faith in Josh Jacobs, but I also am just worried about his knee right now, and I'm thinking of this more from this week's perspective alone.
Well, this week, obviously, Josh Jacobs is not going to be playing. So,
Well, yeah,
I was hoping to give you
at
more
the,
of a
at the,
list of
I didn't
playoff running backs for the playoffs.
Yeah.
Expecting that Josh Jacobs
Oh,
will
for the
be
playoffs, I'm
playing.
taking Josh Jacobs at number. For the Josh Jacobs, I would take him at 4 as well.
Okay.
No one's going to replace Christian McCaffrey.
I
Sorry, I had the
apologize
wrong
for not. Yeah, I apologize for not clarifying that earlier. But let's move on. I believe you have a QB pyramid for us.
Yes, and I believe that we are going to do Mr. Justin Herbert. All right, so Justin Herbert, my friend. We'll get the obvious out of the way. We're going to take him over Aaron Rodgers. We're going to take him over Tua, Justin. Actually, sorry, we don't talk about Tua anymore. We talk about Quinn Ewers now.
Correct.
So we'll take him over Quinn Ewers. We'll take him over Brady Cook because he's the Jets starter right now. We're going to take him over Geno. We're going to take him over Cam Ward, I would think. Okay, just making sure. And then Shador Sanders. The rest, questionable. I want to throw CJ Stroud in that absolutely not tier. Agreed?
He's looked better the last couple of weeks. I would certainly say Herbert is clear of him, though.
Yes. Okay, so let's get into this for real now. That would put him at 1, 2. Oh, I skipped Geno, didn't I?
You didn't skip Geno. You said Geno.
Okay, just making sure. I skipped him last week until the end, like a dum-dum. So I want to make sure I got him. So that puts him at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So he's he's number 6 from the bottom right now. So that's where we're at. And we're going to go into real questions now. Would you take Bo Nix over Justin Herbert?
No.
Okay. How about the sensation of the year, Drake May?
That's a tough one. Drake May has only done it for 1 year. Justin Herbert shows the same
Yeah, go
ability.
ahead.
Um,
Mhm.
you know what? Drake May, I think, is going to win an MVP this year, so I'm going to actually put Herbert behind him.
Okay. So we'll keep going. You have the next up would be a man that beat his team in Trevor Lawrence.
I'm going to have to put Herbert ahead of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence has been great the last few weeks, but it's really he's shown a level the last few weeks that I would say is better than Herbert. Um, but he's only done it for the last few weeks, and he's been in the league for quite a few years. So I'm gonna have to keep Herbert ahead of Trevor Lawrence. But I will say if Trevor Lawrence continues this in the playoffs, and
Mhm.
into next year, that can rapidly change.
I agree. We are going to go over to next Patty Mahomes.
Can't take him over Patty Mahomes now.
I don't blame you. I forgot about the Colts. I don't know who their quarterback is anymore. I know
Well,
it's not Philip
let's
Rivers
keep it as
anymore.
Daniel Jones. Yeah, I think when healthy, he's the starter. And I would take Justin Herbert 100 times over him.
Okay. And, now we get into the elite. Obviously, the next set of the elites. Obviously, Patty Mahomes is above these two guys. He was next to my list. We're gonna go with Lamar.
I'm going to go with Herbert, or I'm sorry, I'm going to go with Lamar. Obviously a really bad year for Lamar. Has a chance
Yeah.
to redeem himself. In that Steelers Ravens game for all the marbles tomorrow night. And we'll see
Right.
what he does with that. The Steelers are significantly worse against the pass than they are against the run. And so it's really going to depend on the quarterback play for the Ravens to win that game, whether or not that shakes out to be Lamar Jackson and or Snoop Huntley. Snoop Huntley has looked good in the times that he's played recently as well. So, God forbid Lamar does need to miss any time or does get benched. Snoop Huntley could very well win them that game if they give him enough time to. So, if you were asking me this year, it would be Herbert, but I've got to look at the career, and it's got to go to Lamar.
All right. The next one we got is Joe Shiesty.
Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about Joe Burrow over in Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
That's literally
I'm gonna go
that's
Herbert on
legit.
this one. I'm gonna go Herbert on this one. The reason why I go Herbert is health. Um, Joe Burrow has missed many games over the course of his career. He's also been blessed with some of the best wide receiving core in the league. And he was able to make it to a Super Bowl. I certainly realize that. But that being said, he's been a far cry from that pace in terms of being able to stay healthy and their team replicating similar types of runs ever since. So, and conversely, Herbert had to be on a bad Chargers team that is now, very much contending and certainly a dark horse, I would say, to do some damage in the playoffs. And I would say that because of how young they are, particularly on offense, they're going to be able to do that for a number of seasons to come, so long as they can, figure out the defensive pieces. They have Mac there, and guys like that who are probably going to rotate out
Yep.
over the next few years. So
Yep.
I think Herbert has just done more with less, and I
Yep.
think the health, the durability factor plays a big role as well. Both of these guys got injured this year. However, Herbert, gets surgery, doesn't even miss a week, and Joe Burrow is out for what 10 weeks with turf toe. So
Yeah. Give or take. Well, last quarterback for the AFC is the king of the AFC, Josh Allen.
I gotta take Josh Allen. That I was just saying, guy does less with more. I don't think that there is a guy who does less with more in the league than Josh Allen. Yeah, I certainly respect James Cook next to him running the ball. I don't want to minimize James Cook when I say that, but when I look at the Bills, they very much remind me of the Patriots years where Tom Brady didn't have the wide receiver ones of the world, and he was very much they were very much relying on his ability to get guys the ball to be the difference, and Josh Allen does that along with legs, and
Yeah.
that's very impressive.
I will say that I'm very impressed with Justin Herbert, though, is his sustainability playing with that broken left hand, on top of how much he has ran, and he's really showing a new part of his game. And I really wish that he was doing that from the beginning of his career. I think he would have had a chance to actually win a playoff game and not get embarrassed both times that he's been in the playoffs. But we're going to move over to the NFC side of things. So we're going to get rid of the usual suspects. Kirk Cousins, uh, Bryce Young, um, and Marcus Mariota, and
I
Jackson
would
Dart.
say Jaden Daniels. I would say Jaden Daniels. You don't want to put Marcus Mariota there because when Jaden Daniels is healthy,
Yeah,
after
but I mean,
yesterday's game.
we've been doing it every week with the person that's actually
Okay.
starting.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
I don't
Geno
this with
Smith
the.
isn't starting this week, for example. But yeah,
Oh, I didn't know that.
he's out this week.
Okay, well, I know JJ McCarthy's back this
Patrick
week, so him.
Mahomes is obviously out this week.
Yeah, but I'm not saying O'Reilly or whatever that guy's name is. It's Patrick Mahomes. He's literally the king of
Well,
the NFL.
I'm just making the point that if we're going to say
And
Patrick
I
Mahomes,
understand your
you
point.
should
I don't
probably be
actually know the
saying
other
Jaden
guy's
Daniels
name.
too, right?
Yeah, we'll say Jaden. If you're a franchise quarterback, we'll keep it that way.
Yeah, I would say
Because I feel like we have done Jaden Daniels thinking about it. So yeah. So I'm going to have to ask you that one. But you know what? We'll ask all of them besides. We'll ask all of them besides Michael Penix / Kirk Cousins and JJ McCarthy. I think the rest could be an argument. And Schlug, Tyler. I like Tyler, but he's got to keep doing it for a little while. So currently, that would put him at 17, 18, 19, 20th. So that would put him currently, before we hit the rest of these NFC picks, he would be 10, 11, 12. He'd be the 13th best quarterback before we continue. So we're getting there. So we're just going to do this in order. Dak Prescott.
Give me Herbert.
Okay. Jackson Dart.
Give me Herbert.
Jalen Hurts.
Give me Herbert.
Okay. Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels.
Keep Jaden over him.
Yes.
Caleb Williams.
Yeah, really, really, only 2 year sample size, so difficult, and the 2 years couldn't be more different in my opinion. Finding almost a clutch gene this year that he didn't seem to have, which would have been my big criticism between the two of them coming into the year.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Herbert. Big reason is I believe that a lot of Caleb Williams' success this year comes from Ben Johnson. I think his baseline last year is not nearly what Herbert does consistently. And I think Ben Johnson injecting some juice into that offense and that team in general are probably the biggest reasons why Caleb Williams has done so well. I certainly think that he's progressed over the course of the season. I don't want to act like he everything else around him is why he's doing better only. But Herbert, consistently has to do a lot, especially this year with Hampton being out and Najee Harris being out as long as they were. Kamani Vidal did a great job, but that's not a guy you sign on RB1 money to carry the load for you, and a guy that you hopefully don't have to watch, tote most of the carries all season. You sign two guys to be in front of him. And Herbert has largely masked that. We're talking about an 11-win Chargers team. I believe that is this. I think they're 1 win behind the Bears in that respect, but they are in a harder conference, I would say, in the AFC, and particularly their division with the Chiefs with Mahomes being there, the Broncos being what they are. And they had to play the Texans last week. They played the Jaguars as well. So it's not like they have a cakewalk of a schedule either. So
I have to disagree. I have to disagree on that. I think they're I think what they're doing over there is incredible. They have top, like, the Lions are a good team. They're just dysfunctional this year to a certain degree. I mean, the Vikings are 8-8. The Bears are 12-4, and the Packers are just behind them at 11-5-1. Like, that's a harder division to me. I still think that's the second hardest division in football, and then the NFC West. I think the NFC is just better than the AFC in general.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess when I really, really think about it, James, I think of Bryce. I think of Caleb Williams as a better Bryce Young. I look at Caleb Williams
No,
as currently
I
a
still
game
think Herbert's a
manager.
better quarterback. I just wanted to disagree with that. The point of that he's in a harder conference. I don't think so. He is a hard division, but there's
That
only three
division
good
was
teams.
very, very weak when you look back on it over the course of the year. You're talking about a Lions team that didn't know how to win a game the second half of the season. You're talking about a Vikings team that had terrible quarterback play, frankly, all season long.
Mhm.
And the running backs
But I mean,
struggled to stay healthy.
they still have winning records. Like, they're still there. It's not like they're gonna miss by much. Like
But
that. That's how hard the NFC is to get in.
But
We're on
that's
years
that's I think in
previously.
comparison the NFC East to the other teams in the NFC. I what I'm trying to say
Yeah,
is that when you look at the Bears, how many teams in the NFC are as good as the Bears?
uh, 6, maybe 5.
Okay,
I would say 5. I would say
okay.
Rams, 49ers, Seahawks. The Packers are so question marks right now. They would be my 6th slot. But then you have Jesus. Who's in the not the South? Who's in the North? I would say the Lions are still a better team than the Bears. I just think they had some unfortunate injuries on the defense too, and I would take the Packers over them. I like the
Well,
Bears, but the
I agree.
experience.
I agree with you in terms of like on paper, these teams and their talent,
Yeah,
right? Like that's not what I'm trying
right.
to debate with you right now. What I'm trying to say is if I look back at this season and how it played out and who was healthy when teams played each other. Yeah, I'm looking at the
Right.
Bears being able to play the Packers without Jordan Love for a game and a half. I'm looking at Josh Jacobs being out the majority of those two matchups, right? And those coming
Yep.
down to overtime in one. I think one possession in the other. Um, I look at
Yep.
the Lions and
No
how
Tucker Craft either.
yeah, and I look at the Lions and how hapless they were. Really the last
Yep.
even that Giants game, they certainly could have lost at home, and that was
Yeah.
their only win. I want to say over the last 6 or 7 weeks. So
Yeah. They straight up collapsed. They started
so
6-2,
so
died.
I just look at the team itself. I look at a Brian Branchless defense, right? And I say to
Yep.
myself, they've given up so much passing. They made Max Brosmer look fantastic on Christmas, right? So, yeah,
Well,
it's.
wouldn't
I
say
mean, can you
best.
disagree with me
He
on
looked like
that?
an NFL quarterback.
That
Yeah,
offense did more than Jameer Gibbs, Jared Goff, Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown, right?
combined. Yep.
Right. So I look at the Lions and I say to myself that's a team that maybe a lot of people projected to win that division and make the playoffs, but they didn't play anything close to that. Their
Mm-hmm.
offensive line I believe was kind of a mess as well. I mean, you remember they were trying to bring in some guy that was retired, Frank Ragnow, and he didn't pass a
Yeah.
physical, and just
Yep.
Bush League type stuff from a team that should be contending for a division and supposedly a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Um, you know, so
Yeah.
yeah,
It was. I would say a lot of people's preseason picks for the Super Bowl. I mean, mine was Packers and Bills. So I mean, but I know Detroit was up there. I'm pretty sure they were the Vegas favorite at one point.
and I didn't even say that Micah Parsons is out right in these Bears matchups, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I look at it from that perspective, and so I say to myself,
Both
you know,
games.
the Bears are very, very good. Caleb Williams certainly can play. That 49ers Bears game on last week, that was a
That
fantastic
was
game.
Yep.
What I will say is the Bears, they know how to run the ball. They know how to run the ball.
Yeah.
DeAndre Swift, who I don't think has ever been like a true stud, has at times
Yeah.
looked at this year. Kyle Monungai behind him has at times looked like a stud this year when
Mm-hmm.
he's been gotten the majority of the playing time. I think
Right.
that Caleb has had the ability to have others carry the load more in that offense this year, and that has led to that success. Justin Herbert, by the same token, has had his running backs 1 and 2 both get injured and need to carry more of the load, and they still are
Yeah.
in basically one game within each other. So for me, this is Justin Herbert again. Could rapidly change, especially let's say if the Bears
Yeah.
were to win an NFC Championship and the Chargers get
Yep.
first rounded, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Like this is Herbert's last year of being gonna be considered an almost elite quarterback if he loses in the first round again.
I don't
I
know
mean,
if
he's
I'm ready to quite say that because if you look at it, he's again going to have a big time this season where he's missed running back 1 and 2s that have been signed to be on the team. So he's had to
and
carry
left
more of the
tackle and
load.
right.
I think
He's
it's
this.
for me, next year is really like the first year where I think we can truly judge him because it's not going to be all on him. He should be able to focus more on things like coverages and checking out of plays into the right ones. Not having to run every single time in a scramble and call passing plays. More than half the time. They should be able to grind the ball and win against most teams, not named the Denver Broncos, right? So um, that's
and and
what I
and
expect.
there'll be a year from Keenan Allen being out of the system. I assume this is last year, and look at uh, that rookie Palmer more involved. He seems like he's got some talent. You got Johnson, and you got there's one over Gadskin over there too with
Yeah,
Hampton.
you
And
got Lambert
I
Smith, you
would
got
even
Trey
resign.
Harris.
I would even resign Vidal, but we're getting to the point where we're taking too long on this one. I agree, and honestly, I do want to throw this hot take. As much as I love the Bears, I could totally seeing them doing what happened to Washington next year and just missing the playoffs and having another terrible season. Like if it just falls apart, somebody gets hurt. Like I could see that kind of level for the Bears. They're going to be there if they're there. That NFC North is just an absolute hellscape with how good everyone has the potential to be. But let's move over to Jared Goff.
Yeah, give me Herbert. I don't know if you saw that game on
Yeah,
Christmas. Give me Herbert.
yeah, yeah. I think I'm about done with Jared Goff. I'm skipping JJ McCarthy. I don't need to ask you that question. What about Jordan?
That's a tough one. That's a tough one because Jordan.
Especially same class.
Same draft class. Jordan, I think, has played very well in the times that he's played, but he's not always
Mm-hmm.
healthy. That's certainly one knock on him. The other thing too is that I would argue that you could certainly make the argument that Jordan Love does this with more but less good wide receivers than Herbert does. I will say Tucker Craft does make a big difference. He's a big upgrade
Yeah.
on Aronde Gadsden. Um, and the run game makes a huge difference when you're making this argument, even between the quarterbacks, because the Packers historically are able to run the ball very effectively, and that allows Jordan Love to
Yeah.
play more complementary football and not necessarily have to be a Superman. Whereas Herbert, whether it be through injuries or just not having a talented team, he's kind of had to be Superman for most of his career. Um,
Yep.
so I'm going to go with Herbert for that reason. He's led his team to the playoffs when he's frankly been the only thing carrying them to the playoffs,
Yep.
particularly on the offense. Jordan Love, I
Especially.
think, has gotten the benefit of some of its parts much more often than Herbert has. Although at times he shows the ability to have a similar ceiling.
So the next one would be Baker Mayfield. I
Yeah, I'm,
would say
I'm
no.
gonna have to take Herbert. Baker has at times last season and early on in the season. I would say basically until halftime of that Lions game where he sustained the AC joint sprain, making a Hail Mary pass. He was playing Superman quarterback football during that time,
Yeah.
but he appears to have gotten hurt and not have been able to regain that form. Herbert has basically done that, hurt or not, most of his career. And so I got to
Yeah.
give it to Herbert. At this point as well, Baker Mayfield has substantially better wide receivers than Herbert does.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would say he's top 4 or 5 in the league for sure. When healthy. When healthy. And then the only other person I only have 3 more players for you here. I got Brock Purdy. I would take Brock.
I am going to take Brock. Brock has had an unbelievable season outside one game, the first game that he came back from injury. He is truly made that Mr. Irrelevant tag look quite stupid
Yeah.
with his play ever since he's entered the league and needed to play and needed to start.
Yep. For sure. And then I have Matthew Stafford.
So I'm going to take Stafford. Certainly if we're talking about a looking forward, I would not make this conclusion. But given the fact that we're talking about quarterbacks at this time, Stafford a couple of weeks ago was on an MVP charge, and he's
Yeah.
cooled off in the last couple of weeks. But he's been able to win them games when Devontae Adams has not played, when Puka Nacua has not played. Kyron Williams, for me, just is not as good as some of the other guys that we've mentioned that they've had, like Josh Jacobs with Jordan Love, etc. I even think that Hampton is probably better, when
Yeah.
healthy. For me, it's still Brock Purdy. For me, it's got to be Brock Purdy. I realize he does have McCaffrey. I realize he does have Kittle. I realize he does have Pearsall, who's been hurt most of the season. And I do realize that he has Juwan Jennings, who's also been hurt for much of the season. But he has shown the ability to get guys like Demarcus Robinson, Kendrick Bourne, the ball as well, even when they play good defenses and get schemed against very well. So, for me, I think I'm going to give the edge to Brock Purdy. This is probably something that may go back and forth depending on each of their play season on season. Given their ages
Right.
and kind of.
I think they're literally right next to each other. I think it's as close as you can get.
I'm
and
right
then
there with you.
I think, and then we got Sammy D, their last quarterback of the week.
Yeah, so I'm going to take Herbert over Sam Darnold. I realize Sam Darnold has had a very impressive last couple of years now. I realize that he's sustained Jackson Smith and Jegba on what is currently a wide receiver one from a receiving yards perspective. At the moment, he's still 70 yards ahead of Puka Nacua coming into this week, despite Puka Nacua's recent explosion. So, that has showed me a lot from Darnold. It's made me change my tune tremendously on where I was at with him prior to these last couple of years. But I certainly don't think that I think that Purdy and Herbert are very similar quarterbacks. That really what sets them apart from guys like Darnold is their ability to run the ball and run the ball effectively, consistently. I think right in between Purdy and Darnold is where Herbert should be.
Yeah, I agree. So, with that being said, we did all 32 quarterbacks besides the ones that we don't need to talk about. We know we're not taking them over, or we're not. We know that Tyler Slog isn't over him, or Michael Penix, or Bryce, Kyler / Jacoby. No, Justin Herbert's a franchise quarterback for sure. So what we got here is that's going to put him in slot. He would be in slot 8, which is going to be a problem. So you're going to have to make a decision. Because I believe Drake May is the 8th quarterback as well right now. So give me 1 second. I just need to make sure. I don't want to screw us up here.
He would need to be 9th if Drake May was 8.
Yep. You want Drake over him.
Yeah,
So yeah, that would put Herbert as the ninth best quarterback in the league officially.
very good. Well, with that, we'll take a little break, and when we come back, we will talk about the Saturday games, give you an in-depth breakdown, and wish you well on your Saturday before we link back up tonight to talk about the Sunday games.
All right, guys, welcome back. We had to take a brief intermission. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna go over the Panthers at Bucks and then Seahawks at 49ers. We're gonna do it a little differently. Got a new format to try out. So I will start because I'm the away teams. So Brian, I'm thinking the X factors for this game for the Panthers is going to be what King Tut can do. I like King Tut a lot, obviously, as you know. And then fantasy starting wise, Bryce Young. I mean, obviously we got to start his quarterback. We're starting the number one wide receiver, right? So with the Panthers, they've won every other game for their last 10 games this season, and it continues in this pattern. The Panthers would win this game, and then with the Bucks coming in on their losing streak, um, the Panthers have every opportunity to just take this division, snatch their chain, and move on. But the Panthers' run first offense has been struggling to punch it in the ground with a 9-20 disadvantage in rushing touchdowns. They score more pass touchdowns than their opponents and throw less interceptions, balanced by more fumbles and lost fumbles than the opponent. Dead even in time of possession, outscored by opponents on the season by 18.2 points. And then they're scoring an average of 22.8 points. But one of their eight losses, 22 points against the Cardinals in week 2, held 5 opponents to 20 or less points in their last 8 games, including Green Bay and the 49ers, which that 49ers Panthers game was very competitive. Besides this last week against the Seahawks in the second half, the Panthers have been in pretty much every game. And as that happens, Baker Mayfield throws an 18-yard touchdown to K-Dot. So go ahead and do the Buccaneers.
Yeah, so the Bucks, they've also been struggling. As James mentioned, they're coming into this one on a 4-game losing streak and having lost 7 of their last 8. They essentially have really kind of spiraled ever since Baker Mayfield picked up that AC joint sprain injury that I was referring to earlier in the video against the Lions on a Hail Mary attempt at halftime of that game. Really they haven't been able to rebound from that, despite the fact that they've gotten their wide receiving corps healthy in Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and Jalen McMillan all coming back to rejoin Emeka Egbuka there. Bucky Irvin has shown flashes at times since coming back, but largely has been underwhelming since coming back from injured reserve. And Rashad White is still the leading carrier on that team for the season to kind of evidence just kind of how underwhelming Bucky Irvin has been in the games that he's played. Sean Tucker is getting a lot of the goal line work. That's not something that happened at all last year with Bucky Irving. So my X factor for this one is going to be Bucky Irving. They're going to need to run the ball to win this game. The Panthers are 19th against the rush, but 14th against the pass. I think Baker Mayfield, if he is able to regain some form, could make a big difference in this one. As you said earlier, James, the Panthers have done a great job holding teams to 20 or less points. They were able to get that done even on the road against teams like Green Bay and San Francisco. So that they're on the road again against Tampa Bay in a big game. It's reasonable to expect that they'll be able to hold the Bucks to 20 points. Again, unless Bucky Irving and or Baker Mayfield, play significantly better than what we've seen recently, I think that this falls right into the Panthers' hands. You mentioned the trend of the win every other week and how this would be if it sticks to that trend, a week where the Panthers win. Typically, Bryce Young plays better in those weeks where the Panthers win as well, particularly in the back half of the season. There were some Rico Dowdle performances that were quite monstrous towards the middle of the season that were more of the
Yeah.
reason that they won some of those games. Um, but I believe that you have the Panthers in this one. I certainly do. I have the Panthers winning this one 24-20.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that, obviously with it already being 7-0, that wasn't going to be a shutout. But I'm very heavy on the Panthers side. Obviously, I think it's it's my third favorite team. Obviously, the Bears come before them, and it's your second favorite team for sure, with your family and your wife's side of everything. It would just be cool to see the Panthers go from worst to first. And they've had a really fun season. And you know what? I don't feel like the Buccaneers deserve anything with the way that they started. They should have ran away with this division. Their team's the healthiest it's been all season, and they can't do anything. They can't even beat the Dolphins. I mean, and the Dolphins are back into joke territory with the way they played the last couple weeks. Their season ended when they beat the Bills. That was their Super Bowl, we'll say. But one thing I do want to say on the Panthers, either way, I think either way that we know that Bryce Young is going to get another year. He's done enough to get that, and hopefully we can just continue to grow, get a couple more offensive pieces. The defense is pretty much close to complete. I'd spend those early picks on offense, pick up some free agents for the defense, and then just meet in the middle and see what happens next year. I obviously don't think they can win a Super Bowl. The team hasn't won 2 games in a row since week 5. So that's where I'm at with the Panthers. I'll let you give your closing thoughts on the Buccaneers.
Yeah, the Buccaneers again really comes down to two players: Baker Mayfield, Bucky Irving. I expect the wide receivers to get open enough, and I expect them to be available enough. It's just a question of is Baker Mayfield going to have enough time behind that line to be able to get them the ball, and is he going to be healthy enough to be able to find them consistently? Those are very good wide receivers, capable of game breaking plays whenever they touch the ball. They have not been able to realize that potential, of late, and so it's hard for me to say that they're going to suddenly find it in this one. The other thing that could happen is that Bucky Irving, could show, some real promise in the ground in this one. Again, it would behoove the Bucks to run the ball more than pass it in this one. That's not something that they typically do as an offense, despite the fact that they win the time of possession battle most of the time. It's just football is a game of momentum. The
Yeah.
Panthers, while they just got beat by the Seahawks at home last week, they do have momentum in the form of this on again, off again stretch. They do have momentum in the sense that they beat the Bucks at home a couple of weeks ago, and when you look on the other side, there's a lack of momentum on the Bucks side. We mentioned that losing streak. We mentioned the even further stretch of losing, dating back all the way to week 10. I think that there are some things that could change the script here, but that this is a Panthers
Yeah. Let's hope. Keep pounding or whatever it is. I think it's
win.
keep
It's keep
pounding
pounding. Yeah.
for the Panthers.
Yep.
Maybe we'll see some. Oh no, this Panthers are away, so we won't need to see a Seth Curry or not Seth, but Stephon Curry appearance. It's a favorite
Yes. And
team.
just one last note before we move on from this game: the Panthers don't even need to win this game to make the playoffs. If the Falcons win their game on Sunday, then all the teams will finish in that division. At the top 3 teams will finish at 8 and 9, and the Carolina Panthers will get in on tiebreaker as they will be 3-1 on the season against the Falcons and Bucks. So. This is a must-win for the Bucks. The Panthers could get help from the Falcons, even if they were to lose. That would allow them to win this division and still make the playoffs.
Yes, sir. And now we move on to what I think is my favorite game of the week. Obviously, it's a red helmet game for my Bills, but nobody important is probably going to play much. So Seahawks 49ers. This is my game of the week. I'm very excited for this game. Prediction wise, I'm going Seahawks. I'm going 30-28. Um, I think it also come down to the last team to touch the ball. Like I think we could be in for absolute Bears versus 49ers again kind of type of game. 49ers could score on any team. The Seahawks can score on any team. Like it's going to be fun. But the X factor for the Seahawks is going to be if Kenneth Walker can get the ground game going, or if Sharps is just going to shred. Those two are like starting to turn into a real tandem. They've been good for the last month or so. They did a good number of work on the Panthers last week too. But playoff implications for this game: both teams need to win to clinch the 1 seed in the NFC. If the Seahawks lose, they are locked into the 5 seed. If the 49ers lose, they will be the 5th seed unless the Rams win this week. If so, the Rams would be the 5th seed and the 49ers would be 6th. Packers would be 7th. That's the only thing we have locked in 100% sure with those results. But no one else can be the 1 seed besides the Seahawks and the 49ers officially, which locks Philadelphia into slot 2 as well. As far as this matchup, the Seahawks feature in an above average offense with one of the league's best defenses. Darnold has continued momentum from a good season last year in Minnesota and has continued to foster JSN's breakout season to the tune of the number 1 wide receiver in the league by 70 yards. Ahead of Puka Nacua entering week 18. So if he can get himself 100 yards and Puka doesn't go absolutely mental, he will win that award. And then I'd also just like to say that I'm really proud of the Seahawks for getting the run game going towards the tail end of the season. It's been a bit of a disaster this year in the run game, and they're starting to get trending towards league average. We didn't have time to get the exact numbers, but last I knew they were in 18th, so they're 16th, getting pretty close.
Rushing.
16th? Okay, 16th. So they went up since I last looked. Obviously, I haven't looked at anything. I've had a whale of a week, so life is going a million miles a second for me. That's why we're so behind this week. But we'll get back to normal business this coming week. Go ahead and talk about the 49ers.
Yeah, so the 49ers, the 49ers, they come into this one hot. They have been winning and basically winning shootouts in most of their games. The most recent one being over the Bears, in prime time last week. Purdy has looked great. Jawan Jennings has been on a touchdown streak. I believe now it's 8 in the last 6 games. Kittle has looked very good when healthy. He missed their last game and is questionable for this one. He's frankly my X factor in this game. I think if he plays and is healthy enough to both block and catch and run some routes, I do think that the 49ers have a very good chance of pulling this one off with the experience that they have. Particularly the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, you've got McCaffrey there, who's the best running back on both of these teams as well. So look for Kittle. I think the 49ers will go as he goes in this one. The really big thing is that the Seahawks they have a top 5 defense, and they have a top 5 defense because they're 12th against the pass and 3rd against the rush. So it's going to be tough to pick up yards in the ground. That's why Kittle I think is so massive. If he can block well and they can run better than other teams have fared against the Seahawks, I think they'll have a pretty decent shot. If they can get yards when they have to grind out clock, that would be a big difference. It's not something I expect coming into this matchup. I think that you're going to see Purdy, litter the ball all around the field, including the McCaffrey out of the backfield. I think that that's going to be the recipe for success towards moving the ball and scoring points in this one, given how good that Seahawks rush defense is. Conversely, the 49ers defense, they are decent against the pass. or I'm sorry, decent against the run. They're sixth in the league against the run. So Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet are going to have their work cut out for them. Alternatively, they're 25th against the pass. So JSN is in line, is in place to have a monster game in this one. If he does not have a monster game, I certainly believe that the Seahawks could certainly lose this game because it is set up for their wide receivers to smash. And Cooper Cup and Rashid Sheed wasn't even active, I don't think, last week. So those guys, I don't know if they're going to be the difference makers in the passing game. I think it's going to come down to Jackson Smith and Jigba. But the 49ers, I like JSN as my fantasy start for the Seahawks. I like Purdy as my start for the 49ers. Again, I think Purdy is going to have to win this game for them based on that passing versus rushing ranking for the Seahawks. So love Purdy in this one. I do think they have enough experience on offense to get this one done. However, I think that defense will prevail in this one, given the fact the Seahawks are just so tight against both the pass and rush. I do have them winning this one 27-24.
Yeah, closing thoughts, man. Either way, no matter what happens in this game, these two coaches, they deserve their freaking flowers, man. You know, McDonald over in Seattle, he knew he didn't want to do this with Geno Smith anymore. He just got rid of him. Like, the thing I respect about him is that no matter who's his friend or who's on that team, if they're not doing their job, they get out of town. And I respect that. He doesn't coddle, he doesn't baby, he runs his team, and he does it with an iron fist to field the best team. And I think that is amazing. I don't think enough coaches do that. I think they're like, obviously you want loyalty from your job, but at the same time, like this is one of the biggest businesses in the world. And I look at it from the frame of a Bills fan. We're way, way too loyal to people, especially older players, and we refuse to move on, where it's starting to bite us in the bottom. And I don't think the Seahawks are ever going to have that problem with him. And then with Kyle, I mean, a guy that gets dumped on for losing Super Bowls and choking leads. I mean, this guy's done it with dairy farmers and painters this year. Like, his team was hurt since week 1, and like he lost Kittle week 2. The only player that hasn't gone down once is Christian McCaffrey. Of all players, the defense is riddled with free agents, undrafted rookies, and practice squad players for the most part, and they're still one win away from the first seed. Like, it's amazing. Both should be up there for Coach of the Year, and honestly, both very exciting teams. I'm not a fan of San Francisco besides Brock Purdy and George Kittle and CMC. That's just they've won a lot in the last couple years, so I like Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people don't, but he's kind of ended their season a lot. So I like Aaron Rodgers as a player, not as a person. I just want to point that out there too, because he's a little. But yeah, amazing job by both teams. Who, no matter who wins tonight, they earned it. And I'm okay with either team winning and getting that first seed. They both deserve it. It kind of sucks that it wasn't the Rams, just because how good Stafford's been playing. It's amazing. That division is just amazingly hard as well. That I think we have no doubt on agreeing is the hardest division in football and the most exciting division all season to watch. I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, I really don't have a ton more to say. Should be two very, very good games tonight. I think the NFL did a great job in picking, these games to play on Saturday. So I want to give them some flowers for that. Not really popular to give the NFL praise, in many ways nowadays. But I do think that the scheduling did shake out correctly, and they flexed the right games into the right spots. You even get the winner go home situation on Sunday night with the Ravens and Steelers. So
Right.
you've got a fair amount of games with a lot on the line. A lot of parity in the NFL this year, creating a lot of scenarios where even like we said earlier, the Falcons winning could stop the Bucks from winning the division, even if they beat the Panthers in this primetime game. Which is pretty wacky, but that's the NFL these days.
All right. So we're gonna have a part two. Brian's gonna explain that. I just wanted to apologize that we did not do a review video this week. We just did not have time with me moving and going halfway across the eastern border. I'm not going to say where I am because obviously that's my business. But next season we won't have any missed episodes, anything like that. Life just got in the way this week, But we did do an amazing interview with 5 Point Vids, and we appreciate him for coming on the show again. And make sure you check that out. It's our best performing video by far, and we put a lot of work into that. We did a lot of planning between works for both of us and life. So we just wanted to say from the bottom of our hearts, from me and Brian, we appreciate all of you that have been watching and been here since the beginning, and or if you're just jumping on now and this is your first video, thank you so much. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and Brian's going to close out the show now.
Thank you so much for that, James. Yeah, we wish everyone a very happy 2026 as well. Hope everyone is doing well and is able to find success this year. But with that, we will close out part one of the Week 18 preview video. We will be back tonight, and I hope that you all join us for the Sunday games, part two of our Week 18 preview. We're also going to give you guys some predictions for all of those games, who we expect to be making the playoffs, and what the seeding will look like going into next week before we do some playoff predictor videos for you guys and get you guys all set for the playoffs. So with that, James, unless you have anything else, I'll wish everyone a great rest of their Saturday afternoon, and we'll see everyone tonight.
Be safe, do good, go Bills.